Welcome back into the Sports Source, this segment of our program brought to you by Madisonville Marine. It's the holiday season. That means it's time to treat someone you love, or yourself, to a brand new boat for 2019. Madisonville Marine has the biggest selection of brands and models in all of East Tennessee, along with the very best prices. That's why, as I've told you for 15 plus years, there's no better place to buy a boat. Madisonville Marine. Back with my media cats. We have, do you like being called cats?
I was about to say, wow. We're on the
media dudes. After the Charlotte game, I asked if the Vols had improved from week 1 to what was week 9. We said no. Then Tennessee knocked off Kentucky. The hype train began a little bit. It was a Kentucky team that beat MTSU by 11 points in Lexington yesterday. But all I heard last week was, well, there's been steady improvement all season long. There's been marked improvement each step of the way. I haven't seen that. And I'm not just saying that because they lost yesterday. They played well against Kentucky. I take nothing away from that. But I didn't see that steady marked improvement from game 1 to game 10. No. And I haven't seen it now. So my question is, let's take a look at the November Vols over at the left, okay? Here's what they've done in November. They beat Charlotte in a lackluster game, took down a number 11 Kentucky team, manhandled them, and then got manhandled by Missouri. If you got to replay with this team, okay, all those other games, the losses, the wins, how many of those losses become wins if it's Tennessee's current team playing those teams today? Any of them?
The only one I see would be Auburn.
You think that becomes a
well?
That would become a loss?
I think at least in that game. No, I think Tennessee could have won that game.
Well, they did win that game.
Well, okay, let's look. Okay, let's look at South Carolina.
Yeah. South Carolina stretching to find one. The answer is no.
Well, South Carolina
Omaha.
South Carolina because you had to lead 24-16, and there's a fumble at the goal line by South Carolina that's not called. So South Carolina scores on the next play, 2-point conversion, tie game. That was a huge swing in that game. So that would be the South Carolina game.
Well, see, that's the one that would flip.
The reason I would disagree with that,
you started with Auburn, you were just searching to find one,
is because South Carolina, from the last couple of minutes of the first half all the way the rest of the game, dominated it. I mean, Tennessee couldn't hardly do anything. I mean, I think Chuck was right. I think the Auburn game does flip.
The Auburn game could have been the one.
You know, that would be the one you would probably
Yeah.
flip it the wrong way. Now, you could say, take away 6 turnovers against an up-and-down Florida team, and maybe you could flip that one. But that's a pretty big maybe.
The other problem is, you know, you got 3 turnovers against Auburn, you won by 6. You gave Florida 6 turnovers, but they won by 26.
Yeah, you get back to the line of scrimmage issue in that game.
Yeah, I don't know that you beat Florida even with that. I mean, the bottom line is, though, for the people who've said, well, there's been steady improvement from week 1 to week 11, I don't see it. And
I think there has been improvement in some places.
In areas, okay.
The receivers are better
than they were in week 1.
Garantano is better than he was in week 1. His offensive line hadn't gotten any better, but I think he's better. I think your receivers are better. I think your defensive line is better.
I think it goes back to what you said at the
5
beginning.
games where they've allowed 200 yards rushing, including yesterday.
That's your linebackers haven't gotten any better.
Right.
I think it goes back to what you asked at the beginning about being better and consistent. So to me, are they better than they were against West Virginia now? I'd say they're a little bit better, but it's a jagged line, which leads to the inconsistency. Yeah, the Kentucky team, the team that beat Kentucky, I mean, that was a pretty good team.
If you could put that team up against those. But
right, but if that team could beat South Carolina, but you don't know which team's going to show up.
The Charlotte game, that team loses to South Carolina.
What I'm getting at is there have been years at Tennessee where you've been able to say, and we've heard it, boy, I wish you could play Florida now because Tennessee gets on a roll at the end of the season. That part of that's who you played. But still, with this year's team, I don't see that. I don't get that feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't get the feeling, though, that this team, well, if we played West Virginia today, you still get your butt kicked.
I think a lot of
West Virginia has gotten better.
But
Lost to Oklahoma State yesterday, but you're right.
No. Don't you think so much of it is when you play some of these opponents? I mean, Kentucky had coming out of that Georgia game, a very physical game, and then they were so one-dimensional on offense. That's what Tennessee needs on defense is to play a team that can't throw the ball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, and I'm not trying. That's not a knock on Pruitt. I think this team is what. If they win next week, they're going to be one game better than what I anticipated. So I'm not trying to knock Pruitt, and it's the first year. I'm just saying that in terms of the steady improvement as a team, I'm not seeing steady improvement as a team. But okay, in terms of areas.
You've got areas where the coaching seems to pay off. And I'll also say this. I don't like Pruitt after a game saying we've got to get new players in here. But I don't mind saying it after a game. Yeah, they need to improve. I mean, they need to get better players. And I think until that happens, you're going to see this kind of thing. I mean, it's way too early to start talking about 2019, but, you know.
Not really.
look at this roster and say, okay, where do you get a lot better next year?
How much improvement is there going to be in the offseason? That we don't know. Have a full offseason and everything?
Your strength and conditioning coach could play a role in that because that's been a revolving door, right?
Yes.
Yep. So maybe if Fitzgerald's as good as advertised, then maybe they can make drastic improvement there.
The strength and conditioning coaches are better coaches when their athletes are better athletes. They'll tell you that too.
All right, very good. When we come back, we're going to talk about gambling. Does Jeremy Pruitt have a gambling problem? I say yes. I'm negative today. I was positive last week. I'm negative today. I'm up, I'm down like this team. We're going to get the Vols out here, the VFLs, and they're going to tell you whether or not they like all the onside kicks. 0 for 5 on the year now. Come on back on the Sports Source.